My name is Lily Anderson, and I live in Australia, specifically on the stunning coast of the Sunshine Coast. This brings us to December 22nd, 2021. I was 40 years old, thriving, loving life, and just beginning to come out of the COVID-19 fog, excited to celebrate Christmas with my family. We spent the entire day making gingerbread houses and enjoying family time. That night, we were all snuggled on the couch, watching a Christmas movie, when suddenly, out of nowhere, I felt an odd sensation, followed by an intense headache. One of those headaches where you can't even open your eyes. I had experienced headaches before, usually tension headaches, but this was different. I told my family, I don't feel well, and decided to go to bed early. I had big plans to cook Christmas dinner for 30 people on the 24th, so I needed to rest. It was only about 9 o'clock when I went to bed, but around 10:30 p.m., I texted my husband from the bedroom. My headache had become unbearable, and I couldn't see straight. I asked him to bring me some Tylenol and Advil. He did. I took them, and I thought I fell asleep. But in reality, I had slipped into unconsciousness. What I didn't know then was that my carotid artery had dissected on my left side, causing a super bad headache. I stayed asleep, and my family continued with their evening, not suspecting anything more serious than a headache. I didn't wake up until around 4:30 or 4:40 in the morning. I woke up thinking I was dreaming. My bed is quite high, and the stroke had affected my right side, but I didn't realize I was completely paralyzed on that side. I tried to stand, but my right side gave out, and I crumbled to the ground. Even then, I didn't understand what was happening. I thought, I just need to get to the couch and get my husband. But I couldn't move or talk. I couldn't scream or make any noise. I tried to pull myself across the floor, but couldn't. There was a wall right there, and I banged on it 5 times as hard as I could. My husband had been startled when I fell out of bed, but when he didn't hear anything else, he went back to sleep. He came in when he heard the banging, and my mom, who lives in our basement suite, also woke up and came upstairs. My husband tried to lift me, asking, "What are you doing on the floor?" But lifting dead weight is hard, and he put me down, turned on the light, looked at my face and said, "I think you're having a stroke." At the hospital, I was still conscious. They brought me into triage, but the paramedics were chatting and not paying attention to me. A nurse facing away from me turned around, saw me, and said, "What are you doing? She's clearly having a stroke." He called a stroke code, and everything moved very quickly from there. I was in the CT scan within minutes. My husband arrived, and they saw the carotid dissection and the massive stroke. I was still in my body but felt disconnected. They decided to give me TPA, a clot-busting medication, which works about 50% of the time, but has a high risk of instant death. They gave me the medication, but nothing changed. I didn't start moving, I had no reaction to pain, and my arm was completely paralyzed. Because it didn't work, they considered brain surgery. However, the hospital in my town didn't perform such surgeries, so they needed to airlift me. A storm was approaching, and the helicopter didn't want to come. The charge nurse, who was amazing, screamed at them, "I'm not going to let these kids watch their mom die on Christmas. You are going to come." Finally, they agreed. The helicopter arrived, and by this time, I was barely conscious. I remember saying goodbye to my kids and family, who had come to say goodbye because the doctors and nurses were clear that I probably wouldn't make it. They strapped me into the helicopter. The sun was shining beautifully as we took off. As the sun hit my face, I felt myself leaving my body. I could see my husband and my body, but I didn't feel attached to it. I closed my eyes and opened them in a beautiful garden. The grass and water felt like nothing I had ever experienced. I wasted more time feeling the grass with my feet than making the decision to come back. I knew I was there to make a decision, and nobody would make it for me. Everything glowed with the light of love, and I wasn't alone. My guides, who I had gotten to know well, were there. They were sitting on a bench, and I joined them for a bit, then walked around. My husband and kids were also there, but I didn't talk to them. My belief was that our higher selves are always on the other side, connected to us and all the other lives we're living. I saw some of my pets that had passed, and even one that would pass before I got out of the hospital. My mother-in-law, who passed away in 2011, was there too. There was a huge group of people, dozens, maybe even hundreds, who I didn't think I knew. But when I concentrated, I realized they were all my other lives, there to support me. We're all connected, even though we appear separate. My guides were super helpful, telling me I needed to decide whether to go back to the physical world or stay on the other side. I knew this beautiful garden was like a waiting area for those still connected to their human body. If I died, I would go somewhere else. I looked like the best version of myself, 25 years old, wearing a beautiful white dress, no wrinkles, no weight, no pain. My physical body was still in the helicopter, clinging to life. They were trying to keep me alive for brain surgery. My guides told me what would happen with either choice. Once I was there, I understood everything. Every choice I had ever made sense. There was no regret, no judgment, just an all-knowing that my life was planned for learning. It was clear that there was no punishment, only love. They showed me what my kids' and husband's lives would look like if I didn't go back. I didn't feel sad because I knew they would have planned that too. They showed me what I would do if I went back. I would write books and speak to important people about the gifts we're given. They showed me that the first 18 months would be incredibly hard, but I would learn a lifetime's worth of patience to prepare me for what was coming. I decided to come back. Instantly, I was out of the garden and back in my body, but I was in a light-filled waiting room first. I could watch myself and my family. My soul reconnected with my body, and I got to decide whether to be in my body during the seizure. I chose to watch. I saw my husband and myself seizing in the hospital. When it stopped, my body went into a deep sleep, and I joined it. It was blackness and pain. The doctors told my family that brain surgery wouldn't help me. The damage was too extensive. They moved me from the ICU, and over the next few days, the neurologist said this would be my life. I would need continuous care, couldn't eat or walk, and would likely stay in the hospital for a long time. But hour by hour, I started improving. By December 27, I walked for the first time to the bathroom. Going to the other side was the most peaceful and wonderful experience of my life. I want people to know that we get to choose. We're here to learn, and on the other side, everything is love. There's no hell, no punishment, only love. We come here to experience everything else. We choose our lessons before we come here, and we walk through life with our guides and loved ones beside us. If we ignore the lessons, they'll keep coming. We're here to learn and grow.